Hi, I'm Aashruth Rangarajan. I am the founder of Eating Circles. Eating Circles, the name because idli, vada, dosa are all circular. And the moment I decided I'm going to enter the South Indian food industry, I started thinking in what ways can I differentiate myself from the crowd, because if you know, in Chennai every street has 4 to 5 South Indian restaurants, and why will people choose your restaurant over every other restaurant? That was the constant line of thought which I had from the very beginning. I think I was fortunate to meet some great people, and I got a lot of insight, and I realized one of the main things which you have to focus on when you start any business is what are the problems you're trying to solve. What are the existing problems you're trying to solve? And I think that was one of the directions with which Eating Circle was born. I think at every aspect, right, starting from the name, like you don't associate Eating Circles to a South Indian restaurant. Starting from the name, at every aspect, our line of thought was to see how we can differentiate ourselves from the crowd. And I think we've, things like, there are a lot of places which have more than one variety of chutney, but Eating Circle is one of those rare places where we have a Chennai sambar and we also have a Karnataka style sambar, and we have a live counter, because even when you see a lot of people who go to even 5-star restaurants, 5-star hotels, have this one complaint that they don't know how their food is getting made. So what we did was we gave a live counter so for people to judge, see, and actually realize that it comes from a very clean setup. And one thing I realized was it also gives us a great sense of accountability, because we know our customers are looking every day as to where the food comes from, so we have to keep it clean. So it worked to our benefit. So in the second outlet which we started in Alwarpet also, we started with a live counter. And one of our tagline is serve your senses. So one thing which Eating Circles does is it serves every sense of the customer. So basically you see the idli taken out of the steam, and because the food is given steaming hot, you touch, and then that sensation of hot food, the aroma which comes because of the live counter, the smell of the ghee, the smell of the sambar, everything which percolates through the room. I think that sort of creates a very perfect setup for a great meal. And basically Eating Circles is a Karnataka style joint, and we serve authentic Karnataka style food, like those crisp dosas which are also thick on one side and completely crisp and golden brown on the other. And even when it comes to idli, we have a tat idli, we have a sambar idli, and we have a rava idli. All are completely different styles of preparation. So I think our uniqueness is in the authenticity of every dish, and it's also what we anticipated as to how it will work in the market is exactly how it's happened. People have responded very well, and I think we're 2 outlets strong in less than 2 years' time. When we started the second outlet, one of the things which happened was the kitchen equipment of the first outlet was not bought from the city. It was not bought in Chennai. So we had a lot of issues with regard to service. And with regard to the second outlet, one of the things I wanted to achieve was, in a restaurant space, you don't have the luxury of time. You don't have those 3 days, 4 days for things to become okay. You want immediate service. And I saw the benefit in the ACs and the exhaust, because we had procured it from vendors based out of Chennai. So the service used to be spontaneous and immediate. And when it comes to the kitchen equipment of Keelpok, it took us time because we had to get the people to come from the place from where it was manufactured, and it used to take 2 days. It became a huge struggle. So we'd fix that. We're going to buy the kitchen equipment from a manufacturer in Chennai. That's where the whole search began. And our interior designer had been in close touch with Mr. Divakar from Venus Kitchen Equipments, and he had said, why don't you meet him once and check it out? So the first ever meeting, I'd actually thought about meeting various vendors and getting quotes and all that, and then taking a final decision. Divakar sold solutions. Like basically the idea with which Eating Circles was born, I realized Divakar was not trying to, the first time when he came to me, he was not even talking about the equipments he chooses to sell to me. He was only talking about what problems they've solved to the other vendors in the business. And one of the things with most of us restaurateurs who are getting into the business are all new to the industry. I think a lot of us come with lack of experience. All of us learn in the industry. What advantage Venus brings is they bring a lot of knowledge, research, everything into your restaurant. So what happens, you don't start from level 0, you start from level 28, because that's the amount of experience Venus has. And with Diwakar, what happened was he started taking me to some of the restaurants he set up, and he started showing in what way they've solved a particular problem. And I loved the attention to detail which has been put into every single kitchen equipment. Just for example, our hot case, the coil used to be right below the dispenser, and because it used to be in the middle of the hot case, we had to fill in liters and liters of water to get the whole thing heated. These guys had just created this small bucket sort of thing, and they put the coil inside, so the amount of water came down by probably 10 times. And just when I saw some of those solutions, they're all experiential solutions, they're not things which have come out of the blue. So I knew we found our man. And one of the things I was very particular about is whoever I tie up with, they have to also take charge of the equipment service in Keelpock, so that the entire kitchen equipment part of it, I'll give it to one person and they have to shoulder the responsibility. One of the things I believe in is outsourcing. If you decide to take up all the responsibilities, you don't give your 100% to any of the responsibilities because of lack of time. So one of the things, I find the right person for the job and I let them take care of it, and I trust them fully. And so I had to find someone who I can trust such a big responsibility on, and I think I found that with Diwakar. I think the moment I gave him the kitchen equipment side of things, right from putting the drawings and discussing with the architect and giving all the possible plug points, plumbing lines, everything was taken care of from them. So I think one entire wing of my problems had been delegated to Mr. Diwakar, and I think they've done a great job. Of course, like, I think our style of restaurant is very different from a lot of the restaurants they've handled till now. So there were a few hiccups initially with regard to the equipment and how the design and the functionalities and all of that. And I got what I wanted. That's when I realized I found the right person, because the moment I spoke about some of the issues which I had, first day they actually had one person stand from morning to evening to make sure if there is any initial hiccup, they'll come and solve the issue. And every time I made a phone call, within 2 days time, I've always had someone come and rectify the entire issue. In every possible aspect, they've suggested permanent solutions. They've not suggested, like, for example, I tell them I'm constantly having an issue with this. Why don't we try this completely different style of doing the same thing? And it just made our life so much more easier. I think one reason why you'd want to, when you look at having a person who's going to solve your problems, and when you're talking about after sales service, I think there's no better than Venus Kitchen Equipment. And the little I've gotten to interact with Mr. Diwakar's dad, Mr. Durai Diwakar, I see experience in every word. Like, I see, like, any small issue you bring up to him, he speaks and he helps you understand what the issue is. The thing is, when I had the first kitchen equipment, like, where I understood the value of Venus is when I set up the first set of kitchen equipments, there's nothing I learned out of the whole experience. With the second one, at every level, they talk about why they do what they do. Like, 3-inch table vechirukena idha vecha enna benefit is explained to you. So what happens, the next time you set up a restaurant, you understand each equipment's functionality and you do accordingly. And I realized this is why they've grown as much as they have. They understand a person's requirement, and they just don't build kitchen equipments and they don't sell. They start from the customer, they understand their requirement, and then they procure and purchase and they manufacture the equipment. That's one of the biggest advantages I see with Venus. If what you're looking at buying is kitchen equipment, then I myself can recommend at least 10 possible vendors from which you can buy. If what you're looking at buying is solution, then I think your search ends here. Venus equipment is the end to your problems. I think service and solution finding are the undercurrents of this beautiful brand.